You here in the book of Joshua tonight. I know we've been doing it in Sunday school, but we'll go ahead and cover it tonight. I'm still talking about the Sunday school lesson this morning. It's a blessing to my heart. And we'll continue here in the book of Joshua. We should cover all of chapter 13 here tonight. Bring out some different things about it. 33 verses. We'll go ahead and start reading. In Joshua 13, in verse number 1, it says, "Now Joshua was old and stricken in years, and the Lord said unto him, Thou art old and stricken in years." That's nice and to the point, isn't it? The Lord was pretty blunt. He didn't call him elderly. He didn't even call him aged. He didn't call him anything like that. He said, "Joshua, you're old and you're stricken in years." You know what stricken means? It means getting whipped around, beat around. Stricken. But anyways, "And there remaineth yet very much land to be possessed. There is the land that yet remaineth, all the borders of the Philistines and all Geshuri, from Sihor, which is before Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron northward, which is counted the Canaanite, 5 lords of the Philistines, and the Gazathites, and the Ashdodites, the Eshbalonites, the Gittites, and the Ekronites, also the Avites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites and Miro, that is beside the Sidonians, unto effect to the borders of the Amorites. The land of the Giblites," I've never seen that one, the land of the Giblites and all Lebanon, toward the sun rising from Baal Gad unto Mount Hermon, that's up north, unto the entering into Hamath, all the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon unto Mishbeth-maim, and all the Sidonians, them will I drive out from before the children of Israel, and divide thou it by lot unto the Israelites for an inheritance, as I have commanded thee. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance unto the 9 tribes, and not the tribe of Manasseh, with whom the Reubenites and the Gadites have received their inheritance, which Moses gave them, beyond Jordan eastward." This is on the east side of Jordan, even as Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them. "From Aor, that is the bank of the river Arnon, and the city that is in the midst of the river, and all the plain of the Medeba and the Dibon, and all the cities of Sihon, king of the Amorites, which reigned in Heshbon, unto the border of the children of Ammon. And Gilead, and the border of Geshurites, and the Maccathites, and all Mount Hermon, and all Bashan unto Selka." By the way, while I'm reading all these names, keep this in the back of your mind. Some of these names, and a lot of these names, you and I don't have any idea what they are. We don't know where they are. We should probably know more about them than what we do. But they're not real interesting to read, a lot of them. And that's because God is a practical God. Whenever He wrote the Bible, He wrote it like your and I's life is. There's times in our life where it's like Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and wow, it's wonderful, and you're up, it's just wonderful, and then all of a sudden you get into the law, you get into the building of the tabernacle, you get to the names like Maccathites and Hermon and Bashan and Salka and Og and Bashan and Edrich are in it, and it's boring to you. That's how life is. Sometimes life's just kind of a drag. Sometimes life doesn't seem like it's doing a whole lot, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. God's fine with that too. And if the devil can do one thing for you, he'll push you and say, "Hurry up, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough." God just may be having you read some names of cities in your life, and he's going to get to some other things, but right now he's just having you read names of cities. Look there in verse number 13. "Nevertheless, the children of Israel expelled not the Gershites, incomplete obedience, nor the Maccathites. But the Gershites and the Maccathites dwell among the Israelites until this day." We'll talk about their incomplete obedience later. In a couple of chapters down the road, with 13:13, incomplete obedience, they did not drive them all out like the Lord commanded them. Verse 14, "Only the tribe of Levi He gave none inheritance." Sounds negative at first, doesn't it? "The sacrifices of the Lord God of Israel made by fire as their inheritance, as He said unto them." It's not negative, it's actually positive. "Moses gave the tribe of the children of Reuben inheritance according to their families, and their coast was from Aor, that is on the bank of the river Arnon, and then the city that is in the midst of the river, and all the plain of Medeba, Heshbon and all her cities that are in the plain, Dibon, Bamoth, Baal, Beth-Belen, Ben-Meon," sound like speaking in tongues, "Jehazazel, Kemoth, Mahapath, Kirjathim, Sivma, Zereshahar, and the Mount of Valley, and Beth Peor, and Ashdod, Pisgah, and Beth-Shmishmipha." Sounds like speaking in tongues, don't it? I'm going to say them again just because I like saying them. 17, "Heshbon, all her cities are in the plain, Dibon, Beth-Baal, Beth-Baal-Maon, and Jehazaz, and Kedemoth, and Mephab, and Kirjathim, and Sibmah, and Zereshahar, and the Mount Valley, and Beth Peor, and Ashdod, Pisgah, and Beth-Mishmah. And all the cities of the plain, and all the kingdoms of Sihon, king of Amorites, which reigned in Heshbon, whom Moses smote the princes of Midian, Evi, and Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba, which are the dukes of Sihon, dwelling in the country. Balaam also, the son of Beor, the soothsayer, did the children of Israel slay with the sword among them that were slain by them. And the border of the children of Reuben was Jordan, and the border thereof. This was the inheritance of the children of Reuben, and after their families, the cities and the villages thereof. And Moses gave an inheritance unto the tribe of Gad, even unto the children of Gad, according to their families. And their coast was Jazer, and all the cities of Gilead, and half the land of the children of Ammon unto Ahor, that is before Reba. I'll throw this one in there. Just it helps as you read to know these things in the back of your mind, otherwise it just gets confusing. God's very particular about borders and walls and properties of land and boundaries. And later on, we're going to find out here in this chapter, there was 3 or 4 tribes that they had land, but it didn't have a boundary to it. And we're going to find out what happens to them when they didn't have a good boundary in their lives. We're going to find out later what happens to them. God cares about boundaries. Verse 26, from Heshbon, Ramath, Mizpah, Beth-Taman, and from Mahanaim unto the border of Debir, and in the valley of Beth-aram, and Beth-nimrah, and Succoth, and Zaphon, and the rest of the kingdom of Sihon, king of Heshbon, Jordan, and his border, even unto the edge of the sea of Chinnereth. We talk about that sea there at Chinnereth. On the other side of Jordan, eastward, this is the inheritance of the children of Gad after their families, the cities and their villages. Moses gave an inheritance unto half the tribe of Manasseh, and this is the possession of half the tribe of the children of Manasseh by their families, and their coast was from Mahanaim and all Bashan, all the kingdoms of Og, Og king of Bashan, and all the towns of Jair, which are in Bashan, 80 cities. Half Gilead and Ashtaroth and Edrei, and cities in the kingdom of Og, Bashan, were pertaining to the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh. Even 1/2 of the children of Machir by their families. These are the countries Moses did distribute for an inheritance in the plains of Moab, on the other side Jordan by Jericho eastward. But unto the tribe of Levi Moses gave not any inheritance. The Lord God of Israel was their inheritance, as he said unto them. Brother Jeff, you ask the Lord to bless the lesson tonight.
Lord, help Brother Aaron, Lord, as he preaches tonight, Lord, and Lord, just go with all of our church family here, Lord, and go with Brother Steve, Lord, as he's away with his family, and Lord, just watch over him, Lord, and Lord, just thank you for what you've done for us, Lord, and Lord, just go us to be attentive and listen to your word, Lord, and listen to your word preached, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. There in Joshua 13:1, we already talked about it, but I want to show you 4 things tonight for the sake of time. I'm going to give them to you now, and we'll see if we get through all of them, but if you're taking notes, number 1, we're going to look at the aging Joshua. The aging Joshua. Number 2, we'll look at the adversaries to be conquered. The adversaries to be conquered. Number 3, we'll look at the allotment of the land. The allotment of the land. Then number 4, we'll look at the ambulating saints. The ambulating saints. You say, I don't know what that means. Well, good. Then you'll at least learn something tonight. But number 1, the aging Joshua. Notice we already said it, but God starts out the chapter pretty blunt. He kind of states the obvious. Now Joshua was old and stricken in years, and so the Lord said unto him, Thou art old and stricken in years. You notice God did the same thing to Joshua back in Joshua 1. You think the book of Joshua would start out real nice and sweet. You know how the book of Joshua 1:1 starts out? Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass. And then he starts out talking to Joshua, and you know the first thing he says to Joshua? Not only does he start out the whole book with, now the servant of the Lord, Moses, the servant of the Lord is dead. Then the first thing he says to Joshua is, Joshua, Moses, my servant, is dead. You know God's not afraid to give bad news? Not only that, he's not afraid to be honest with you and I. I don't know about you, but I get sick of a world that doesn't live honestly. I get sick of a world that won't tell me honestly what I need to hear. You know, I don't want to go to a doctor and him say, well, Mr. Aaron, after you're doing the biopsy there in your skin, we found out that you have a particular diagnosis that we have learned of and studied for many years, and it is a very peculiar and rare, but also a hopeful and enlightening, and possibilities can stem from it. Dude, tell me what the problem is. Tell me what's wrong. Don't beat around the bush to me. Tell me what's wrong. You know what they call it now? You know, you used to give somebody feedback at the job and you'd say, you're doing good at this and you're doing bad at this. You know what they changed it to? They changed it to a sandwich, where it's a good thing that the person is doing, then you tell them a bad thing that they're doing, then you finish it with something good, you end on a positive note. And what that was called was constructive criticism. You tell them something that they don't really want to hear, that they can improve upon. It's called constructive criticism. You know what they changed that to now? Constructive comments. Constructive comments. Because people can't handle direct feedback. And you know what God says to Joshua? He says, Joshua, you're old and you're stricken in years. You know what stricken means? It means to be beaten or whipped or scarred. You ever heard somebody say, I'm going to whip you into shape? You know nothing will whip you into shape like age and time. Nothing will whip you into shape like age and time. Joshua's around 80 to 100 years old right now. He's been fighting for 20 or 30 years in Canaan. He wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, and then he lived in Egypt. But about aging, a man once said, or a man can whip any enemy he has in his life, or he may whip any enemy that he has in his life. But no one has ever yet conquered time. Time fights unfair. You don't know where time is going to be swinging from. He takes shots all over your body, and you can never run away from him. And when you try to run after him, you never catch up to him. Time, the enemy, is not a respecter of person. He's not a respecter of age. He's not a respecter of income or educational background. You know something I've noticed about the hospital? You'll have all kinds of people from all walks of life still coming to the hospital. You'll have professors, you'll have doctors, you'll have nurses, you'll have EMTs, you'll have the homeless, you'll have mothers, you'll have fathers, you'll have brothers, sisters. Time is not a respecter of persons. Brother Frank said that this morning, and I want to get it written down, but he said, I can give you an absolute certainty that there is 100% possibility that you might not live to the end of the day. I can't remember what he said, but his point was this, is that you and I don't know when our time has come. But time, as evil as what it is, or as cruel as it is, it does bring a few gifts of its own. It brings experience, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and maturity. And those are things that you can't pay for. You can't go and get wisdom at a university. You can't go and get maturity at a job. You can't go and get peace. You can't go and get long-suffering. Those are things that only time can bring in your and I's life. So notice the aging Joshua. Notice that God's not done with him yet. There's still something for him to do. He says, Joshua, I know that you're old. I know that you're stricken in years, but there's still something I want you to do. Notice number 2. The adversary is to be conquered. There's still land to be possessed. That's what he says. He says there remaineth yet much land. Notice he doesn't say to conquer. He says to possess. He was saying, Joshua, don't rely on past victories. Don't rely on your past victories. And then he's also saying this. There's a difference between conquering the land, which Joshua has done, and possessing the land. And I don't mean to confuse you, but think about it like this. You can conquer a land and say, we have defeated the enemy and their army is gone out. We have conquered the land. The enemy has fled. The enemy is gone. But you don't possess that land until you begin to build in that land. You can conquer the land and drive the enemy out, but until you start building your own cities there, planting your own gardens, planting your own vineyards, and you start producing there and then outsourcing it somewhere else, you don't technically possess that land. He's saying, Joshua, you conquered the land I've asked you to conquer. You've done the job I wanted you to do, but there's still some areas that you need to possess still. That maybe the enemy is gone away, but you haven't taken full possession of them. You know, you and I have conquered all of our enemies. We've conquered death, the grave, sin, fears, whatever. We've conquered our enemies, but we don't possess the land until we can settle down in those areas and start producing fruit. And let me show you what I mean. Turn over to Romans chapter number 8. We'll come back to Joshua. Turn over there to Romans chapter number 8. Conquering versus possessing. Conquering versus possessing. He said, Joshua, there's still a lot of land to be possessed. Not conquered, but possessed. Look at Romans chapter 8, verse number 33. Romans 8:33. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. Who is he that condemneth? It is Christ that died. Yea, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of God, who also maketh intercession for us. Verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Now, can I ask you a question? Do you believe that verse 37 means, you don't have to go to the Greek or Hebrew to figure it out, do you believe that verse 37 means that we're all conquerors through him that loved us? That's what it says. And what did it say that we conquered? It's back up there in the verses. Tribulation, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, or sword. He says, in all these things we are more than conquerors. You say, why are we conquerors there? And every born-again Christian is a conqueror. Because Joshua, Jesus, Oshua, they have 7 names, Yeshua, Joshua, type of Christ, went ahead and fought the battle for you and I. But you and I don't get to enjoy Canaan's land until we settle down in it and possess the land and start building our homes and our lives and our relationships and our future and our communities in that city. You may have the enemy driven out. What I'm trying to get to is that you may have the enemy drawn out. Maybe they are fleeing. But if you're not in that spot and growing, you're not in that spot and maturing, you're not in that spot and have the peace and the victory day after day after day, you don't technically possess that yet. But the point is this, all Christians are conquerors because it's already been done through Jesus Christ. But not all Christians are living that victorious, abundant Christian life that we talk about. The reason why is they never went in and actually possessed it. They never really settled down in the land. They went along with everybody else. Hey, they're in there with the children of it. They're in there with the children of God. They're in there in the house of God, and they've conquered all the land all together as a mass. But those people individually have not came and possessed that land. You know, you don't possess the land of tribulation until you settle down in it and have peace in it. You don't settle, or you don't possess a city of distress until you can settle down and say God is in control. You don't possess the country of persecution until you can stand there and say, great peace have they which love thy law, nothing shall offend them. You've conquered it, but have you possessed it? You don't possess the land of famine until you can say the word of God will sustain me. You don't possess a city of nakedness until you can say the Lord will clothe me in the righteousness of the saints. You don't possess the land of peril until you can say it is well with my soul. I will trust in the Lord, and He shall sustain me. He shall lift me up, and my feet shall not stumble, neither shall my ways go astray. You don't possess a city of swords until you can say no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You and I have conquered all the land. God, we've already conquered it through Jesus Christ. But you and I, to enjoy the land, have to go in and possess it. And I'm asking this question tonight, is there land that you could possess? Is there some land in your own spiritual life, in your own spiritual walk with God, where you say, God, I understand that I'm a conqueror. I understand the promises of God. I know what Romans 8 says. I know what Joshua's trying to teach us. But God, there are some things in my life that even though you've given me the victory over, and I know that I have the victory through Christ Jesus, God, I'm not possessing it, I'm not settled down in it. I'm not growing in it. Joshua, there's still yet very land to be possessed, and there's still a lot of land to be possessed for you and I spiritually, new heights to climb. There's new truths in the Word of God for you and I to find. There's new treasures in the Bible. There's new biblical promises for us to grasp. There's new promises in the Bible we haven't claimed yet. I thought of this earlier, but there are things that we know but we don't fully believe. I'm talking about going farther with the Lord. I'm talking about possessing the land that you conquered it. Now He's saying, hey, settle down there, and I want you to start producing something out of it. I want you to produce something in the land of tribulation. I want you to produce something in the city of peril. I want you to produce something in the land of Nate. I want you to produce something there, possessing the land. Things that we know but we don't fully believe, things we believe but do not yet fully understand, things we understand in the Word of God but have not proven in our own lives. Can I ask you a question tonight? Is there anything that you've heard God do for somebody else that you say, God, I'd like to have that to happen in my life? I'd like that to happen for me. You know, whenever I got right with the Lord back in 2016, when I got right with the Lord, one of my biggest prayers, especially in the early years, and it still is to this day, was God, make me the type of Christian that someone else will look at me and say, I'd like to have what he has. Not to be like me. You can't replicate this. Amen. You can't replicate. You can't be this ugly. You can't sound like me. You can't be as strange as me. You're not going to be as weird as me. You're not going to be a wild man like me. Not to be like me, but I hope that there's somebody that says, I like to have what he has. Don't you want people, man, to say, hey, what is it about you that makes you different? You're different than the other coworkers. You're different than the other occupational therapists. You're different than the other accountants. You're different than the other the bank tellers. You're different than the other electricians, the plumbers. There's just something about you that's just different than everybody else that comes through here. What is it? And then you can say, well, let me tell you about it. Let me tell you about the person that makes me different. Things that we haven't proven in our own lives, things that we want done for us. It's not enough that it was done for somebody else. We want it to be done in our lives. We know of prayer, but do we know a life of prayer? We have submitted to God's will in our lives, and we've conquered in that area, but do we delight to do His will? Maybe we've already said, God, you can have my life, you can have my will, you can have my way, my future. God, you can have all those things, and you've conquered that big land as a mass, but you've yet to say, God, I'm going to sit here and delight in your will. Possessing the land, there was still land to be possessed. There was adversaries to be conquered. Number 3, notice the allotment of the land. The allotment of the land. In verses 6 through 21 and 23 through 33, you have the allotment of the land. Notice that Joshua's job has now changed. Joshua's job for the Lord goes from battling to administrative work. Chapters 1 through 12, Joshua's going to battle, he's going to battle, he's going to battle, and for 20 or 30 years of Joshua's life, God's going to have Joshua's hand bloody on a regular basis fighting a battle. And then you know what God says to Joshua? Joshua, you are old and strict in years, I have a new job for you. Can I say this? I don't care what your favorite preacher told you, I don't care what your favorite old preacher told you, I don't care what the old preacher of the past told you, I don't care. There is nothing wrong with you changing your work for the Lord. You don't have to stay by Brook Cherith until the day that you die, doing the exact same thing that you've always done. Bless God, the exact same way I've always done it. God might not want you to do it the exact same way you've always done it.
Amen.
God might want you to change the way that you're doing it. Not because you're compromising, not because you're going worldly, not because God has changed, nothing like that. God might say, Elijah, get up from the brook Cherith. It's dried up. I'm not going to feed you there anymore. The ravens are not going to come anymore. You can stay there if you want to, but you will die, Elijah. If you don't get up and move, I got somebody else I want you to help. I got a widow I want you to take care of. I got an Mount Carmel experience for you. Elijah, get up from this brook that was once a great miracle in your life. Get up and go do this now. God will sometimes move you. You'll teach a class. You'll do this in the church, or you'll do this ministry. And God says, all right, now do this. Now do this. Are you and I sensitive enough to the Lord where we could say, you want me to drop my sword? Yeah, Joshua, drop your sword. And get out a pen and paper. It's funny how God made him learn and sit down and write as he got older. You think he would have done that as a young man in college there in Egypt. You think he would have had to do all the writing then, but he said, Joshua, all right, now you're going to learn something. I want you to start dividing out the land, writing out everybody's inheritance, different things. I want you to get ready. You're going to be deceasing soon. I want you to make sure that the people behind you have something there to work with. So his job changes. It's not a sin to stop doing something. But notice in the allotment of the land, Reuben, I don't know if you noticed it, but Reuben was the firstborn. He got the first choice, and so did, I'll show you the other choice. Turn over to Joshua chapter 1. Reuben, he gets his allotment, and he makes their own decision. He makes their own decision. Look over there in Joshua chapter number 1. I'm talking about conquering land in our life, or possessing land. And Joshua allocates the land out. Look here in Joshua chapter 1. Look there in verse number 10. Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, pass through the host and command the people, saying, prepare you victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God giveth to you. Now notice this. And to the Reubenites, that's the eldest brother of the 12, and to the Gadites, and to half the tribe of Manasseh, spake Joshua, saying, remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Your wives and your little ones and your little cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side Jordan, but ye shall pass before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them, until the Lord hath given you your brethren rest, as he hath given you. And they also have possessed the land which the Lord your God giveth them. Then ye shall return unto the land of your possession and enjoy it. You notice that there? You notice it says the land of your possession and enjoy it, which Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that thou commandest us we will do, and they did. Whithersoever thou sendest us we will go, and they did. According as we have hearkened unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. That's a very rare thing for the people to be with the next man in charge. Usually the people can't get over a change in authority, and they'll usually leave and take a lot of people with them. Whosoever he be, but Moses as a good leader set up another man to come in behind him. The people trusted him. And they went with Joshua, and they obeyed him. Verse 18, whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words, and all that thou commandest him, he shall put to death. Only be thou strong and of a good courage. So notice here, the Reuben and Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh, they say, we want this land east of River Jordan. East of River Jordan. And this is important because they chose the wrong land. They chose the worst land to get out of all the 12 tribes. Look back in Numbers 32. I want to show you this. They're a type of the carnal Christian. There isn't any other way to put it. They're a type of the carnal, worldly Christian that says, hey, so we're out of Egypt now, and but here's the deal. We don't really want to go further with you all. You guys are kind of extremists. And we'd really love to just settle down here on the east of Jordan and just kind of relax a little bit, take it easy. And they're the type of a carnal Christian that, we'll look here in Numbers 32, verse 1. The children of Reuben, the children of Gad, had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, that was a place for cattle. The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest, and said unto the prince of the congregation, saying, verse 4, even the country which the Lord has smote before the congregation of Israel is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle. Wherefore said they, if we be found grace in thy sight, let this land be given to thy servants for possession, and bring us not over Jordan. These people come up, just so you know, if you can imagine, remember the Sea of Galilee's over here, or the Mediterranean Sea's over here. You have the area that the 12 tribes inhabited. You have Egypt down here. You have the Red Sea. You have the River Jordan going up. And they're called Transjordan tribes. They're on this side of Jordan. And they saw this land, and over here is a land called Bashan. And you've heard of the bulls of Bashan in the Bible. They were known for being the biggest bulls in the land. And the children of Israel come up to Moses and they say, Pastor, we know that you want us to come every night to the battle over in the land of Canaan and fight and everything. We understand that. We understand that we're supposed to be fanatical. We get that, but you all are a little too fanatical for us. We'd like to kind of settle down here. We actually have things we got to do. We got cattle we got to raise. We got land to plant. We actually got a city to build, and we're really busy. Can we not come over? Can we just stay here? Do we have to go all the way in with you guys? Or can we just kind of hang out here on this side of Jordan and just kind of take it easy? Because see, it looks really good over here on Jordan. My eyes love what I'm seeing. All the potential for me and my family to get the glory and all the potential for us to get this and all the potential to bring in big crops, and we'll be able to outsource. Moses, Pastor, we'll be able to tithe more because we'll have more land to give. We'll have more cloth. We'll have more animal. We'll have more sacrifice. We'll have more to give to the Lord if you just let us settle down over here. That's what they came to Moses and asked. Now that's the Aaron Coble version. It's been updated, 2020 version. And can I show you what Moses' reaction is? That sweet, dear old, I'm talking sweet, Howells Anderson graduate preacher, just slick and smooth. Can I show you what Moses said to him? Look what Moses said to him. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war, and shall ye sit here? And wherefore discourage ye the heart of the children of Israel from going over to the land which the Lord hath given them? Thus did your fathers, when I sent them to Kadesh Barnea to the land. Now I'm going to stop there. I'm going to reread it the way Moses actually said it. Because he didn't say it that way. Moses was a shepherd. And one thing I know about people that deal with animals and cattle, they are not afraid to yell. They're not afraid to yell. They're not afraid because you got to yell to get to cattle. You got to yell to get them to go where you want to go. Hey, and you slap them around and everything. You're rough with them, man. You're getting them around. Moses was a herdman. Moses raised his voice. And this is what Moses said to him. He said, shall your brethren go to war, and shall you sit here? Wherefore discourage ye the heart of the children of Israel from going over to the land which the Lord hath given them? Thus did your fathers, just like them. When I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to the land, for when they went up into the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, that they should not go into the land which the Lord had given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled against them at the same time, and he sware, the Lord sware. Surely none of them, the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land, which I swear unto Abraham, and unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, save Caleb and the son of Jephunneh and the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years, until all the generation had done evil in the sight of the Lord, but was consumed. And behold, ye are risen up in your father's stead, an increase of sinful men, to augment yet the fierce anger of the Lord toward Israel. For if ye turn away from after him, he will yet again lead them in the wilderness, and ye shall destroy all this people. That's what Moses said to them. And can I put it in modern terms for you? I'm not going to yell, because it'll wear me out. Praise the Lord. I'm thinking we got MLK Day tomorrow. We got it off. I don't know what everybody's doing for the holiday, but anyway, I don't have to go to work. It's my voice. I don't need a voice tomorrow. But what Moses was saying was this. Moses was saying, you're discouraging the other people in the church. He said, you're hurting people in the church, whether you know it or not, Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. You're hurting people because you're not as sold out as the rest of us. He said, he's saying you're wanting to be 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in church, and because you're playing the line and you're not wanting to come all the way over Jordan, I'm scared that you're going to discourage the heart of the people. And he says you're just like your fathers before you, that they didn't go all the way in, and you're just like the ones that are going to come after you whenever Stephen gets up and speaks in Acts chapter 7, and they're going to be so smitten and stricken in their hearts, they're going to begin to stone him and bite him and gnash on him with their teeth because they despise the truth, just like you do, Reuben, and Manasseh, and Gad. And you know what Moses is worried about? You know what God was worried about? He said, because you're going to discourage people by not being all the way in. And I wish I had a formula to get people all the way in.
Amen.
I don't know how to do it. I wish I could make it. I wish I could just take money and just throw it out there and say, hey, if you serve the Lord, here's money. I wish I could just make it more enjoyable for people. I wish I could preach harder. I mean, he said the Lord swear unto them, and then the Lord went down and said, I wish I could scare people into doing it. But you can't make somebody get all the way in. You can't do it. And these tribes, they were concerned about the physical instead of the spiritual. They got ahead of God and were not willing to wait and let for His choice. They were not willing to wait for His choice. They wanted immediate satisfaction and fulfillment. They were like J.G. Wentworth. They said, hey, it's my money and I want it now. You ever seen that commercial? J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now, 877 cash now, 877 cash now. It's my money, use it whenever I need it. That's what they were saying. They were saying, we're already here, we've already seen this land, we're good, we've gone far enough, we don't want to go any further with you. And Moses is mad. God's mad. They wanted to live on the border as close to victory as possible, but not be a part of it. They're a picture of someone trying to serve two masters. They're a picture of someone that just want to stay on the edge. I had a lesson I was going to teach on this earlier in Joshua chapter 1 called Sandbox Saints. But they say just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'll just take a little bit. They had no natural borders. If you look at the map, you have the Mediterranean Sea as a border. And then you have the river as a border, and you have the Sea of Chinnereth, the Sea of Galilee up here. You have the Salt Sea, the Dead Sea down here, and you have those natural borders. You had Egypt over here, and there was a river Euphrates and Tigris that met right here. And what those are, they're natural borders. Now, I've never been in a brawl before, but I know people who have. Some of them are sitting here in this church. But whenever you get to a brawl, Brother Crabtree told me some really good stories of some good brawls. He talked about one time, I think I can tell you. Yeah, I can tell you. He was in a fight one time, and they ended up, by the end of it, two guys shoved his head into a karaoke machine, and his head was stuck in the glass. And then what they did, since they thought it was funny, he couldn't get out, they started kicking him in his rear, different things like that. He was in a biker gang. But I know something about a brawl is that whenever you get multiple people coming towards you, you don't want to be out in the open. You want to have your back up to something. Because you want to make sure that they at least can't come from behind you. You want to make sure that if this guy steps forward you, that you're at least able to get him, or if this guy comes at you first, you can at least get him, and this guy's coming, at least nobody's going from behind you. So you can at least, if that guy comes into your stomach, you can beat his head in there like this. You say, Aaron, how do you know so much about this? I watch a lot of movies. Amen. And you throw his head like this. I've acted this out many times in my life. I've killed thousands of people. Amen. As a secret spy. But I mean, you want something from behind you. You want a border. Amen. I still imagine doing that to people. But anyway, the children of Gad, the children of Manasseh, the Reubenites, they were over here on this side. And if you look at the map, you can see them in your Bible. They're in the backs of a lot of your Bible. You'll notice that there's no natural border up here. It's a lot of land. There's nothing really that they can put their back to, or that they can say, this is where, there's nowhere that they can really say, this is where our land stops. They have all the potential in the world to just keep growing. They have all the potential in the world to just keep conquering land. I mean, all the opportunity, but they don't really have anything that just closes them in. These 12 tribes had the sea, they had the rivers right here, and they had the big Mediterranean Sea over here. They were boxed in. They were safe. But these three out here, they weren't safe. And can I show you what happens to them? Turn over to 1 Chronicles 5. What happened to these three? Aaron, you're just kind of making a big deal about it. You're being dramatic. You're over-exaggerating. I don't need to do the things you're talking about. I'm fine just where I'm at. I'm fine on this side Jordan. It's fine, but I want to show you where you can end up if you stay on that side Jordan. 1 Chronicles chapter number 5. By the way, Jacob prophesied in Genesis 49 that Reuben would be unstable, and he was. God's word was right on the money. By the way, Numbers 32, that verse that we always quote about, be sure your sin will find you out. Did you know that sin that he was talking about was not going forward and fighting with your brethren? You know that? You know the sin, be sure your sin will find you out. You know what that sin was? It was not going forward and fighting with your brethren. But look over in 1 Chronicles 5, verse 18. And his wife, Jehudijah, buried... I'm in the right spot. 5. There we are. That was wrong. 5:18. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men able to bear buckler and sword and to shoot with a bow and skillful in war, were 44,703 that went out to war. And they made war with the Hagarites and Jatir and Nephish and Nodab. And they were helped against them, and the Hagarites were delivered into their hand, and all that were with them, for they cried to God in battle, and he was entreated of them because they put their trust in him. Praise the Lord, they're doing good. They're actually making it on their own for a little while. That's how that carnal Christian is. They'll make it on their own for a while. They'll trust in him for a while. And they took away their cattle, their camels, 50,000. They're going after the money again, man. They're going after the money. They took their cattle, they took their 50,000, of the sheep 250,000, of the asses 2,000, and of men 100,000. They haven't learned their lesson yet. For there fell down many slain because the war was of God, and they dwelt in their steads until the captivity. Now notice, verse 23, the children of half the tribe of Manasseh dwelt in the land. They increased from Bashan, Baal-Hermon, and stayed near unto Mount Hermon. And these were the heads of the house of their fathers, even Epher, Ishi, and Eliah, and Israel, and Jeremiah, and Hadavada, and Jadiel, and mighty men of valor, famous men, the heads of the house of their fathers. But notice this. And they transgressed against the God of their fathers, and went a-whoring. That's strong language, isn't it? After the gods of the people of the land, whom God destroyed before them. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tilgath-Pilneser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away. Who did he carry away, Aaron? Even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Halah, and Habir, and Hara, unto the river Gozan, until this day. You know, out of the children of Israel, Assyria is going to take over all of Israel soon, but you know the first tribes to go? There's 3 on the east. They had victory for a little while. But they're the first ones to go into captivity. They had no natural borders. You know, you and I need to wait on God and let Him choose our allotment of our land. Let Him choose our spouses. Let Him choose our place of work. Let Him choose our place of worship. Let Him choose. You and I need good boundaries in our life. You need some good spiritual boundaries. I'm talking about standards. I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to talk about standards. Sometimes I don't want to talk about standards and I won't even preach on it. But tonight, you need to have some standards in your life. You need to have some places that you have already determined, I will not go there. There needs to be some people in your life that you say, I cannot fellowship with them because they'll make me like them. A dope addict might not entice you to be a dope addict, but that person listens to country music, rock music. No amens on that one. That person listens to some worldly Christian music that you like. That person that maybe they like a preacher, whatever it is, there needs to be some people where you say, God, this place, this is a border in my life that I'm not going to go past. There needs to be some movies that you say, I'm not going to watch those. I tell my wife this, when we're watching a movie, I say this, and I don't care to say it out loud. First time I see a woman's areas, if I see it more than 2 times, we're done with it. I'll give you 1 time as an accident, 2 times it's going to be throughout the whole movie. We're not going to watch it. And same thing goes for ESPN, it goes for the NFL, it goes for college football, it goes for everything. I'm not going to stare at a woman half naked on television and feel alright about it. Amen? Amen? I didn't get amens on it. I'll amen myself. There are boundaries that you and I need in our lives that'll protect us, that'll keep us from going into bondage, that'll keep us from going into slavery. There are some boundaries. You ought to have boundaries on your children or your grandchildren's television and video games. They shouldn't be allowed, man, to sit there and just... I'm getting a book published right now by Daystar Publishing through Sam Gift, and it's called Satan's Devices. I'm hoping it'll be printed by February. You're more than welcome to get it. I'll give you the discount, amen, 0% off. No, I'm joking. But anyway, I'll probably give most of them away. It's about Satan's devices. It's about television, video games, and smartphones. It's going to be a little 8x5 booklet. I've already got the cover design made up. I've already got all the everything in there. I'm just working on getting it published right now, getting it printed, getting it out the press. And it goes in, it's a biblical neurobiological perspective of the effect of screen time on our minds and on our brains. You say, Aaron, why'd you write a book like that? I believe God wanted me to. And you say, Aaron, are you telling me I can't use a smartphone? No, I'm not telling you can't use a smartphone. I use a smartphone every day. I'm on a computer for 8 hours a day probably. I'm not against those things. But you better regulate it. Yeah. You better make sure that YouTube, you can go on your phone and set a timer on YouTube where you can only watch so many hours of it a week. And it'll let you know. It'll say, you spent 3 hours this week on YouTube, your limit's up. And it'll ask you, say, click here to add an additional hour. But it's so you can keep track of how much time you spend on it. You can put that on Facebook. Say, I don't want to spend more than an hour a week on Facebook, and go into your settings and set that timer so that you limit yourself, so that you have a border. You can set a timer on your children's video games and your grandkids' video games where after 3 hours of that week or 5 hours of that week, it says your time is up. You cannot play anymore this week. You say, Aaron, it'll say that? Yes, it says that. There's a man, he worked for Google, helped create it or helped work in it, and I quote him there in the book. And he was speaking at a conference, he was speaking at a conference about technology, and this is what he said about it. By the way, one of the creators of Facebook don't even let his family have Facebook. He said it destroys them. One of the creators of YouTube said he doesn't let his family watch YouTube. One of the creators of Google said this. I forget his name, but I haven't written down that book. He said, whenever you wake up each day, you have a goal, and you have a goal for your life and for your family's life, your children. He said, and you have a goal, and you may not be thinking of it, but you at least want to get your kids off to school, or you at least want to do well at school, or do well at sports, whatever it is, and you at least want to go to work or whatever, but you have goal, some type of goal that you want to get done that day. He said, YouTube, the only goal that they have is to keep you watching YouTube. They don't have a goal for your family. I'll say this, they're not trying to make your family better. Yeah. Facebook is not trying to make your family closer together. If Facebook was helping the family, we wouldn't have a 60-something% divorce rate. You saying, are you saying all those things are bad? I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying you got to limit them. You got to have boundaries in your life where you say, I'm done at this point. I'm not going to pass this way. I'm not going to go any further. The tribe of Gad, the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of the Reubenites, they did not have any boundaries in their life, and because of that, they're the first ones taken into captivity. Boundaries. Moses balled them out. We already read that. First Chronicles, they gave into the flesh there because they became weak spiritually. And they're the first ones taken into captivity. And then you don't have to turn there, but you know the story. And I'm going to move on to the next point, to the last point. I know a lot of you don't like this, but it's good preaching. It may not be good preaching, but it needs to be preached. Amen. Can you at least say that? Can you at least say, Aaron, I don't like it. It's not really good. I don't like the way you sound. You're ugly to look at. But we at least need it. Amen. You know how their descendants ended up? You ever heard over there in the Gospel of Mark chapter 5 of a man possessed of the devil? What do we call him? The maniac of Gadara. What's a Gadarene? What city are they from? Gad. They're the city of Gad. The ones, remember, I heard Brother Clifford say it, they weren't mad that Jesus cast the devils out of that man. They were mad that they ruined, that Jesus ruined the pigs, the money that they were making. They're raising pigs. They're not supposed to be raising pigs. What happened, Gad? How did you get that far away? Jesus Christ comes in, and he messed up their financial situation, and they got mad about it. The same thing they did in 1 Chronicles 5, the same thing they did in Joshua, the same thing they did back in Numbers 32, still worried about the finances. And they get mad whenever Jesus Christ comes and casts the devils out and goes into the swine that go and kill themselves over in the lake there. And they're mad about it. You know what that tells me? You and I can pass down sins to our children and our grandchildren. Did you know that they found this out with mice, and they found out with humans too, but they studied it first in mice? They found this out. They found out that you could take a mouse, take a mother mouse and a father mouse, stick them in different cages, and then just torture them for, I don't know how long they torture them for, a couple months, a couple weeks, a couple years, I don't know. And it messes with your DNA. Stress messes with your DNA. Your cells start reproducing differently. That's why your digestive system, it affects that, it affects your mind, it affects your health, your heart rate, because your DNA, your cells start re-replicating in a different way because of stress. You stress those rats out for an extended period of time, stress and anxiety, and just whatever. Just keep a light on all night long so they don't sleep. Don't feed them for a while. Hit the cage a little bit. Just whatever you got to do to get them riled up. And they found this out. Whenever you have those mice have offspring, those offspring have the same genes and hormones for stress and anxiety that their parents had. They have an increased number, an increased level of receptors in their brain and in their nervous system to where whenever stress happens to them, it's like cortisol. Whenever you're stressed out, cortisol goes up. Oh, and it goes like this. They found out those offsprings of those parents that were stressed out had similar genes to their parents. You know what that tells me about you and I? We literally, it's not a spiritual thing. It's a physical thing that you and I can pass down stress, anxiety, sin to the next generation, and the next generation, and the next generation. That's what happened to Gad. They passed it down. Can I make this a positive? Can I try to make it positive? You know what he told the children of Gad back in Joshua? And you can turn back to Joshua. We're going to end there. Let's go back to Joshua. Joshua 13. He said this. He said, Joshua told them, he said, make sure that you pass before your brethren. Pass before them. And be armed. I believe that was back in Joshua 1. But he said, make sure you pass before them, that you're armed. What he means is make sure that you're in front of them. Make sure that they see you and that they know that you're fighting so they don't get discouraged. He's saying make sure they know that you're with them. You know, you and I can pass before people spiritually. Let me tell you what I mean. You can pass before someone in prayer and pray for them. You can pass before someone and say, God, help brother so-and-so as he witnesses to his family or loved ones or co-workers. Lord, help sister so-and-so who's struggling with this or that. You pass before them. He gives them a chance and he says, you can make things right. Just make sure that your brethren know that you're going to be fighting with them. Make sure that they know that you're going to be fighting with them. Be careful choosing your own lot in life and not letting God choose for you. Now, you can pass down bad things, but you can also pass down some good things. Turn over, you're there in Joshua 13. I told you about the aging Joshua. I told you about the adversaries to be conquered. I told you about the allotment of the land. Did you know you and I can pass down good things? You and I hope that you want to leave something behind you spiritually. I hope that you want, like Joshua, I hope that there's some land that you want to be able to give to somebody, that you want to be able to say, hey, we put the time in here, this is yours now, you do it whatever you want, but just do something for the glory of God. You and I can pass down good things to the next generation if we choose to. But let me give you this last point here. Look at the ambulating saints. You say, Aaron, what is that? Ambulating means walking, moving around, traveling. Look there in verse number 14. Only unto the tribe of Levi he gave none inheritance. The sacrifices of the Lord God of Israel made by fire are their inheritance, as he said unto them. Look over verse 33. But unto the tribe of Levi Moses gave not any inheritance. The Lord God of Israel was their inheritance, as he said unto them. I want to show you lastly, I showed you the aging Joshua, the adversaries to be conquered, the allotment of the land. Look lastly at the ambulating saints. They're walking around, they're moving around. God chose the tribe of Levi to be his royal and holy priesthood. And you want to know why he chose them to do that? Because they chose him back in Exodus 32. You remember Exodus 32 whenever the pastor goes away for a while and his associate pastor brings in the rock music, brings in the half-nakedness, brings in the party, brings in all the fun and the games and all the activities and all the, woo, our numbers are going to be raising this month. Moses comes down from that mountain after fasting, bless his heart for 40 days, and his associate is out there making a golden calf, and they're all falling down and worshiping. And you know what Moses does? He comes back, he burns that golden calf, puts it in the water, makes all them drink it, and then he says in Exodus 32, he says, who now was on the Lord's side? And it says that the sons of Levi all came to Moses and said, we are on the Lord's side. And you know what God tells his Levites to do? He says, go into the camp and kill everyone I tell you to kill. Stab them through. And the sons of Levi did that. You know what God wants you and I to do? He wants us to choose him. And the same way that Reuben, Gad, and half the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, the way that they passed down to their offspring evil and bad things, you know what the Levites passed down to their offspring? A godly heritage. A godly heritage. The tribe of Levi. I don't know about you, but I'm not even talking about just children. I just want to leave behind a godly heritage for whoever comes behind me. That's what the Levites did. They left behind something that mattered. And notice this, they didn't get any land for themselves. They were just pilgrims and strangers. Now later on, God's going to give them 48 cities to dwell in. We'll get some cities, by the way, later. It's during the millennial reign. But we'll get some cities eventually. But God said, I want you to be scattered out so that way the people can go to you whenever they need help. I'm not going to give you any land. He gives them some land to raise cattle in, I guess, but there's not a land where you call it the Levite land or whatever it is. But they're a type of Christians. You and I have given no permanent possession or inheritance in this earth. We're wandering. If I can give you anything, if you don't get anything else from tonight, let me say this. They weren't to get caught up in the world. You know what I see too many Christians doing? Getting caught up in the world. We're not supposed to get caught up in the world, folks. We're just here for a little while. 1 Peter 2:9, you know it, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. Hebrews 11:13, these all confess that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things must declare plainly that they seek a country. Brother Rex Harrison used to sing this song. I can't sing it like him, but I like it. Some of you may know him, but he sang a song, I'm kind of homesick for a country to which I've never been before. Just traveling through, just a Levite. No sad goodbyes will there be spoken, and time won't matter anymore. Beulah land I'm longing for. This world's not my home, and someday on thee I'll stand. Sweet Beulah land. My home shall be eternal, Beulah land, sweet Beulah land. And I can say something I said earlier about getting all the way in. Let me just leave you with this thought about why it's good to get all the way in. They were given the offerings to care for. They were given the priesthood. They would eventually be given pastures, flocks, and herds. They'd eventually be given 48 cities. They'd be given the land that they wanted all along. Eventually, they just had to wait for it. Like we talked about this morning, about just waiting, about Joseph gave Jesus Christ his tomb, and then God gave him his tomb back, and he didn't really have need of it anymore. But the thing that they got the most, folks, that meant the most to them, was that the Bible says the Lord himself was theirs. And if you and I have the Lord himself as ours, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters if we have the Lord for ourselves. We'll go ahead and end there. We would normally do a song of invitation, but maybe we could just stand and we'll sing a cappella.